So I have a layout for you today using products from Wild Whisper. I'm using the Fur Babies collection, and then I did pull out that Back to Basics cardstock, but I end up not using it anyway. We're going to do some photos of our puppy, our new puppy, Fitz, and I pulled a lot of photos out. I'm not going to end up using them all, but I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted this layout to go yet. So I do know that I want to use this Basil Marshmallow cardstock, and I do know that I want to use a fun technique and that I want to focus on lots of squares. And that's it. That's about it. So I have a spray bottle, and I have 4 shades of Distress Oxide ink. This is Pickled Raspberry, Mermaid Lagoon, Seedless Preserves, and Twisted Citron. And I'm using a square acrylic block. This is just an acrylic block, one you usually use to put your stamps on. I am going to go ahead and put the ink direct to the paper, and then I'm going to spritz it a little bit. This is a technique that I have seen done multiple times by card makers, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to do this. I can almost guarantee you that somewhere along the way, Missy Wooden has done this on her pages. I don't remember her doing it, but that doesn't mean she hasn't done it. Also, because of the nature of this particular technique, there will be lots of shots of my red head. I apologize profusely ahead of time, although I've been told by some people that they really, really like it when my head's in there because it seems like it's more of like a person. I don't know. Anyway, so all I'm doing is taking the Distress Oxide, super easy guys. This is like a technique that any person can do. I'm using Basil Marshmallow cardstock so it doesn't warp too badly from the water. Voila, you get these lovely things. And then I always pick up the extra ink and the extra inky water with paper towels. So it's literally just put the ink on the acrylic block, smoosh the acrylic block down, let it sit there for just a couple minutes, not super duper long. I'm a fastidious cleaner-upper, so I clean up everything all the time in between all of my stamp block fun. And I'm just going to create a background that has multiple squares. See, just like that, just random squares. This is going to be my background, so we're going to layer more squares and more things on top of it. So when it's finished, if it looks like there's too much white space or, you want more, you can, of course, do that. But I knew that I wanted to leave some spots that were white, and I also knew that I was going to be covering up the bulk of this. So I just needed to have that little bit of color in the background. So once again, just plop the Distress Oxides onto your acrylic block. Smush them down good so that the entire acrylic block is making contact with your background. Let it sit for, like a minute, not even a minute, a couple seconds will do it. That just lets the colors not necessarily blend together, but to stay separate. Again, I just put the block down and then fastidiously clean in between. Yeah, this is super easy. Anybody can do this, guys. Anybody can do this. And I chose my Distress Oxide colors based off of the colors in the collection that I was using. If the ink starts to kind of smoosh together and you get brown, you just blot those parts off with a paper towel. Super easy. Because it did happen a few times and I just blotted it off and it worked great. Okay, so these are all my fun little blocks, and now I put some Distress Oxide and some water onto the same acrylic blocks. This is like the acrylic block technique video. And I am taking a paintbrush and I'm just flicking it off. Again, this is something I've seen craft card makers do multiple times, multiple people. Same with the acrylic blocks. And I love to learn techniques from card makers and then apply them to my scrapbooking. That's really, I think that is a super fun way to get a different look, and it kind of keeps your scrapbooking fresh and different and fun. And card makers are brilliant. I'm just going to tell you, card makers are brilliant. They come up with these amazing ideas that you can just use to go in. Now here I got some blobs that I didn't like, too big. Just grab a paper towel and blot them up. So keep lots of paper towels and baby wipes handy for this particular technique. And I'm just going to continue on here, adding these splatters where I think that I want them. Pretty much, I kind of kept them centered down the center of the page, kind of, but not really. No, that's not what I did at all. I just kind of threw the ink at the paper. So I've set that background aside to dry because I feel like when you use a heat tool on backgrounds like that, you really do end up with way more warpage than if you just set your paper aside and let it dry naturally. So I'm a big proponent of letting things dry naturally. So what I did was I set the background aside to dry and I planned out the rest of my page so that I knew what photos I wanted to use, what papers I wanted to use, what I wanted to do, and that way I could just cut and create all the elements I need for my layout while that background dries. So I'm going to back my layout with this diagonally striped paper. And then I'm going to go ahead and mat all of the photos. So I'm going to end up choosing 3 2x2 photos and then that large 4x6 as the main focal photo. And there is a lot of space on that 4x6 that I can kind of overlap and add things on top of it. So here I am just kind of deciding which set of photographs that I want to use. I'm going to use these 3 because these 3 don't tell a story. They're just cute pictures of my puppy. Whereas the other 2 photo strips definitely tell some stories I want to journal about. And so I decided to go with the ones that really didn't need too much journaling, that were just cute photos of the puppy. So I'm going through all of these patterns and I am punching 2 squares. So that is just my Creative Memories square punch. I'll grab it here and I will tell you what size they are. So the small ones are 1 1/4, and then the larger ones are 1.5 inch squares. And I'm just now going to go ahead and I've pulled all of these cute little paw prints off of the cut apart sheets, and I'm going to fussy cut them out because I want to make sure there are some other shapes on my layout besides squares. Pretty much that's it. Now I'm going to stamp my title. So I'm going to use those same 4 Distress Oxide inks, and this is the amazement of Distress Oxides, is you can do backgrounds and do fun techniques, but you can also stamp things and get a nice opaque stamping. And yeah, that makes me super duper happy because I am a big fan of products that will do more than one thing into my stash. So these Distress Oxides will do beautiful techniques. They react with water, but if you want to stamp a coordinating title using your very favorite brush letter stickers from Wild Whisper, you can do that too. Amazement. Okay, let's keep going here. Now I am going to use my stamping block to stamp my title out. I could have pulled out my stamp platform and that would have worked fabulously, but I was sitting there and I had all the stamps out and I had the stamp block and I had the inks, and let's just do it this way. So that was what I did. And it worked out really well. I love, love, love how this title turned out. It turned out super duper cute. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make each letter a different color, and I'm going to then fussy cut out my title, which will be Puppy Love. And now that my title is finished, I am going to get my little detail scissors and I'm going to fussy cut them out. So I'm not going to cut out the inside of the letters, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a white halo around the letters because all of those types of things do not take away from the beautiful stamping title, but they also are it's a little hard to fussy cut in the middle of letters, and you know, so I don't. Yeah, see, I don't know what I was doing here. I forgot that I was recording, I think, at some point, and I was just like, la 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 la, fussy cut my title, and I did most of it off camera. So we're just going to go ahead and skip through all of this and move on to the actual layout. The other problem I had was that this video, I had an hour plus worth of footage, so all this entire thing took me an hour, which was fine. I shot it all in one go, just so you know. That's how fast that background dried. I literally just shot it. Exactly the way it is here, it's just sped up. And I pulled out some parts that, like, where my head was just in the way too much. But you're still ending up with quite a timely video. I mean, this video is going to end up being fairly long compared to some others. So this is not, quick scrapbooking 101. This is a little bit more detailed. Here's my title. Now I'm just going to use some score tape, and I'm going to back my pretty decorative background I made with this diagonal stripe. Oh, and my paper, I've already, the basil marshmallow cardstock, I kind of knew that I wanted to back it with something with a pattern when I started. So when I trimmed it down and started working on the background, I'm dealing with a background that is 8 1/4 by 10 3/4. So no matter what I do, I can never get a background like this perfect. It doesn't matter. It never matters. It's always just slightly off, but I have learned to just embrace the imperfection of the fact that I cannot back a background with another paper and have it be perfect. Just can't. So I'm going to put my main focal photo straight down in the middle of my page, and then we're going to work off of that. I am using pop dots. I'm using all of these elements that I punched and all of the elements that I fussy cut and all of the elements that I stamped. And I'm going to do kind of like a wonky grid, but not. So I'm starting with the photos. I'm letting the photos kind of overlap the big photo, the little photos overlap the big photos. But if there were places where I felt like the photos just went really well against the background, then I popped it up there. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and start applying the photos, and I move stuff around a little bit and my head's in here a lot. And then I'm also going to use my T-square ruler to kind of get some of them to be a slightly more straight. And yeah, so pretty easy. Okay, so now I have my paw prints. I'm going to add those next. I've already gone ahead and added the squares to some different areas. And I'm going to add my paw prints now. And see what I mean? Like, my head is everywhere in this video because I wanted to get the paw prints up on pop dots and I wanted them to be just right. So I'm choosing 3 areas for the paw prints, and I think then I'm going to add my title. So I also fussy cut, or kind of cut down this one card that says Life is Rough because I thought it'd be cute to put with the photo of the puppy sleeping, but it didn't quite work that way. I felt like it was just too distracting. So I'm going to kind of leave it there for a little bit, but ultimately it's not even going to make it to the layout because I just felt like that big purple block, I don't know, I felt like it was taking away, it was really distracting. And then once you added the title that I had stamped, and I'd taken all the time to stamp that title, I wasn't not going to use it. So I end up just kind of pulling it off. So I'm going to audition my title a couple places here, but ultimately it's going to end up down there at the bottom because that's where I was able to get it to kind of snuggle in, and it makes it part of my layout. It doesn't look like kind of off. And this poor picture, it's a good thing that I get my pictures developed at Persnickety Prints because I would have destroyed that 4x6 photo if I had printed it at home because I'm going to move that other like 2x2 inch square one here, there, and everywhere. And then here's where I decide, nope, don't want that. And this is why I like to get my photos done at Persnickety Prints, because if I adhere something down to a photo and then decide I don't like it and I want to pull it up, I'm not going to ruin the picture. So I'm going to use some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I'm going to go ahead and glue my title down. And then I'm just going to add, I think I add one more thing, but this whole time I'm feeling like we need a little bit something else, right? Something not paper. Maybe something not square. So this is the last little bit, and then I'm going to pick up the picture and I'm going to look at it and I'm going to be like, let's see. And then I'm going to hit up my stash for a couple little bits. I choose to use some epoxy flare. This is from Scrap and Happy Studio, which is an Etsy shop, and she makes the cutest flare. I'm so addicted to them. I've been very, very careful, and I've only bought ones that I knew I could use right away because I don't want to have the same issue that I have with my flare badges where I have like so many flare badges. And while I do use them, I use them slower than I bought them. So, and then this is some sequins from Spiegel Mom Scraps. These are tweaky teal sequins. They have gold and teal and purple, and they're super duper cute, and I love them. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use those just to add a little bit of sparkle around my page, just a little bit around the clusters. Again, just to bring something in that's not paper, and add just a little bit of an accent to it. And that's where I'm going to call this layout done once I add all of these little sequins. I hope you've enjoyed this process today. Be sure to head over to the Wild Whisper blog, and remember, you can always use my code to save a little bit off of your order. I am expecting my 2019 new releases any day, and I'm super excited. So have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.